All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Monster Kingdom. I am Monster, and I am joined today with a very special guest. Her name is Brianna Belladonna, and she's from AMC's Freak Show, and she is spectacular in every single way. So tell them about yourself before we get into the deep dive.
My name is Brianna Belladonna. I am known as the Mistress of Mayhem, and I pretty much do everything your mother told you not to do, like play with sharp things and play with fire and insert stuff into my body that just should not go there.
Right. So,
but
what made you want to get in initially? Like before Freak Show, obviously you had a career in it, but when was that moment where you're like the threshold happened?
how can I not want to get into some weird stuff, right?
Right, right.
No, I was actually a tattoo artist, and I started tattooing a group of sideshow performers. Um, and I mean, I didn't know that at the time, but then when they, told me what they did and all this, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'd like to see a show. And even before I saw a show, like I saw this was back when like Ripley's Believe It or Not was on TV,
Hmm.
and I saw Princess Anna laying on a bed of nails, and I was like, wow, that looks
That's
kind of
kind of
crazy.
cool.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit of a masochist, and so I was just like, I wonder what that feels like. And so yeah, I called up my sideshow friends, and I was like, hey, do you have a bed of nails? Can I lay on it? And they're like, yeah, come on over. And so I just started hanging out, and actually, their knife, the way I really got into it too, because I wasn't planning on performing it at
Hmm.
that point. I wanted to check it out. But their knife thrower had lost his target girl. I won't say how. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, I was like, that very well done if that's a joke. If not, I'm like, still very well
She
done.
she moved away. She moved away, and
Okay.
so he was like, hey, if you want to be my target girl, I need a new target girl. And I was like, all right, well, I saw fire eating at a Renaissance fair when I was really really young, and I always wanted to learn that. So if you teach me how to eat fire, I will let you throw knives around me. And here I am.
Deal. So to start off, before we get into the interview, you have sword swallowing. We're starting with, right?
Yeah, we can do sword
Yeah,
swallowing.
let's
Sure.
do that because I just finished. I rewatched the episode where I believe it was Morg that was teaching someone how to do it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you use a coat hanger at first to get rid of your gag reflex, right? So you're able to use a sword, or is that completely not true? Because that's the way I saw it.
Right. No, that part is true. And it's honestly, you don't get rid of your gag reflex because you still want it a little bit just for
Hmm.
like, otherwise you would just choke on food or not choke, but you just like eat stuff and you wouldn't know what's going on.
Right.
So it's not getting rid of it. It's just suppressing it and training your brain to just not care that the craziness is happening.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Well,
yeah,
I'm
let's
excited.
see. All right. So I'm try to do this to where, let me back up. Ooh, sound.
You're good.
Oh, all right. So yeah, this sword is the longest sword I swallow. It's 27 inches. And what's going to happen is I'm going to take this solid steel blade. I'm going to place it in between my lips. It's going to go down my esophagus, past the pharynx, past the larynx, pushing my heart out 1/4 of an inch, squeezing in between my lungs, and
Hmm.
it's going to stop when it hits the bottom of my belly. Now, then I'm going to very carefully pull the sword out. And yeah, it's just that simple. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. I'm gonna try to. I'm like, does this work?
That's good.
Like now, just a pair of like floating boobs.
Right.
Let me see here if I can. Okay, because I still want to get the sword in. All right, here we go. A little bit of water. Hold on here. Perfect. All right, here we go. Mystery. Too much lube is just enough.
Right.
All right, here we go. Sword following.
Yep. That's doing it. Okay. That's phenomenal.
Ta-da!
Jeez. Well done.
Thank you.
So I take it.
One, there was one problem with that. A lot
Hmm.
of people think sword swallowing is fake. They think the blade rolls up into my mouth, collapses in the handle. Heck, some people think the thing's even made of rubber. I don't know what you are thinking, but I'm going to dispel Any last skeptics with this? Woo! That's right.
Ah,
So she got this glow stick. I know you've seen him at raves,
yeah.
seen him during Halloween, and now you're gonna see me swallow it. That's right. I'm gonna swallow this glow stick all the way down in my belly, just where the sword went, proving once and for all that sword swallowing is real. Here we go. Oh, edit out that later.
Yeah.
Like live
I was
theater.
like,
All
that
right,
is a
here we
loud
go.
glow stick.
Okay.
That's awesome. That's insane. Well done
Thank
indeed.
you. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah. So yeah, that's sword swallowing.
No, that was fantastic. So to learn that, did you have to learn like I take it you had because the way you presented it, it was the anatomy of the body. So you obviously have to know your anatomy of your body to do certain things, right?
Like yeah, because it's doing a lot of crazy stuff here. Let me
Hmm.
just sorry, live theater.
You're
All
good.
right. So I didn't know too much about anatomy before I was a sword swallower, and then after just getting into it, yeah, you kind of want to learn what's in the way, what's
Hmm.
not in the way, where it's actually going. And I think the most surprising thing was to learn that you have like two sphincters in your
I didn't know that.
esophagus, right? Most people think the sphincter is only for there,
Right.
but not. But yeah, you have one like probably around the diaphragm, and then one that opens up into your stomach. And so, like sword swallowing, sometimes like just for whatever reason the sword doesn't want to go down. It's usually the sphincter. It's just like, nope, I'm not doing that
Hmm.
right now. But yeah, I learned definitely a lot about from here to here.
So you've been doing it for a long time. Has there ever been a complication where you're like it went a little too like the comfortability aspect led to basically being too comfortable with it and you're like, "Oh, and it nicked it the wrong way or something like that?"
And it's just like anything else. Like no matter how good you get at it, sometimes like it just won't go as
Right.
planned. I wouldn't say that I've gotten well. I've maybe gotten reckless, not on stage, but like
Hmm.
doing stuff with other sideshow performers. But yeah, there's definitely been some uncomfortable moments. Like I've scraped the front of my spine, which is never fun.
Ah.
Yeah, and it's exactly how it sounds. I've definitely, like I said, like if the sphincter doesn't want to open or part something doesn't want to go, that's you can tell right away that that's not fun.
Right.
I've known swallowers that just shove it down there, and that's how you go to the hospital. So luckily, I have not done that yet. But yeah, I've definitely had some very not so great sword swallowing moments.
So despite the interiors, how did you learn like the exterior basically the skin? Because I noticed you do like the hooks in the back and like when you walk on things, like how did you know what sections of skin like we all know the face heals faster than like the hands or things like that. How'd you learn like the sections of your back or is it just all random and like do you feel pain when you do it or is it because like certain muscles?
Suspension. Um, it's actually suspension has a really long history. A lot of people think it's like a newer thing, but it's not. Over in Asia, they've been doing it for oh my gosh. I mean, they date it back for like 600 years, something
Hmm.
crazy like that. And then the Native Americans would do a suspension where it was the chest, and it was called okipa. Um, and so, like the Western world has definitely turned it into a form of entertainment, whereas before it was more of like a rite of passage or a part of like a ritual.
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, it's really crazy. Like your back is probably the toughest part. And we definitely, as far as placement of the hooks go, like you'll get like massaged on and then tugged on and see where you feel the most comfortable, and that's where the hooks
Hmm.
will go. Um, and there's so that one can be it's not really like random because you want everything to be even
Right.
and good and this the the hooks aren't actually going to the muscle. It's just going through the skin.
Right.
Um, and it's pulling away at your fascia is what pulls away. So that's the connective tissue from your epidermis, or sorry, your dermis to your muscles. But like knees and stuff, you have to be way more particular. That one's not so much about comfort. That's more like technical because knees are really thin, so they rip really easy.
Hmm.
But like the back, that's like I've actually seen hooks, metal hooks, bend out before your skin on your back will tear. So
Interesting. So would you
that's
say that every
wild.
act you do has like an element of pain, like sacrifice to it, or are there ones where you're just like you like the pain is almost obliterated because you've done it so long?
Oh no, some stuff still totally sucks. Yeah, it's yeah, I would say every act in Sideshow definitely has a little bit of pain factor. I mean, blockhead's not too painful,
Hmm.
but to get your body used to it, that kind of sucks a little bit.
So
But
you
it's
said blackhead. What's that?
so it's when you hammer a nail into your nose.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too. That's the one thing I was trying to avoid because when I saw it, I was like, nope, nope, nope. That's my limit. But oh wow, yeah.
Well, it's not so painful unless like sometimes I mean I'll hit the nail a little too deep and then like it will bleed, which sucks.
Mhm.
Rarely does that ever happen, but I mean, just like with anything, like eventually, like we say, it's not a matter of if, but when things go wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now with the show Freak Show on AMC, how did that come to formulate as a whole? Did they reach out to you, or was it basically were you already forgive me, I forget the man's name. Is it laid out as it is, where it's like I believe he's like the ringleader of it all, where he created Anthony, I believe maybe.
That was Todd Ray.
Right.
Um,
Did he bring you guys together like the show depicted, and the show cast your group, or was it as very Greatest Showman esque, where they laid it out, where it's just like we're gonna bring in someone new next week, or was it all premeditated?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, I had been working for Venice Beach. I'm like, when did this show come out? It's been a while,
It
like
was a
2013.
while ago, yeah. Almost. This is like almost the 10-year anniversary, I believe.
So, like, I had been working at Venice Beach for a few years, for about, yeah, like 3 years, because I started there at the end of 2009.
Hmm.
And so there was like a core group of us that had been working there for a while, and then they brought on some like people who had done guest spots, and then there were people who were like brand new, like the George the Giant guy. They just
Hmm.
like found him. Where was some like he was from the Midwest, I remember, and yeah, he was like a police officer in his hometown.
That's
So
awesome. Could you imagine the knock on the window,
right,
and you're like, you know what? Well, I'll go to jail.
I'm sorry for anything I did. But yeah, so most of us, because Sideshow's a pretty small community, and
Hmm.
so most of us already like knew each other or had worked for Venice Beach before.
Now, to George's point in the show, he was uneasy about joining because of the terminology freak, which I saw was being fleshed out throughout the show, but it really, like, if I'm to be honest, like, I definitively didn't get, like, why the terminology freak. I got the idea where it's like, you're different, therefore you're this, but that word and the association of what it means, it just seemed odd to. I don't know. Maybe you can convince me like the correlation is different. You know what I'm saying? Where it was a bit tricky for me to understand. Where it's like, oh no, it's a good thing. And I'm like, but it means this. You know what I'm saying?
Really say that that is going to be. I don't think you can just. It's a one size fits all thing. That's going to be like some people don't like that word, and some people do. Just like when like me and my best friend, we call each other bitch all the time. But like I got another friend that I could not use the B word with because she was like,
I hate that. That
oh
makes so much sense. Yeah, you're right.
no, right.
It's the
Because
mentality wise, where it's like either you get it or you don't.
and some people really embrace it, and then other people are just offended by it. I mean, the whole freak show, like, I mean, most of us, are say no to normal, and like are
Hmm.
happy to be odd and different. But like a lot of like myself, like I don't consider myself a freak because I have not earned that title because I'm not a natural born. So like I'm a working act.
What's a natural born? Does that mean like like an actual direct descendant of a circus line?
Natural born would be like George the Giant, so he was naturally
Okay.
born that. Or like a little person, or like penguin that he had no arms, right?
Hmm.
So that's what we call natural borns. And then me, like the sword swallower, fire eater, I'm a working act. So I mean, I have my little friend, Little Miss Firefly. She prefers the term midget.
Mm.
She does like there's nothing little about me. I don't like being called a little person. And then of course, like I've gotten comfortable using the M word, and if I use
Right.
it around little people, they get very upset, and I'm like, I'm
I
really
literally had a
sorry.
conversation about somebody that today. Like, I know someone who's small and like they hate the word, absolutely hate the
Yeah.
word. But some people endure it. But it goes with the idea of the word freak, where it's like it's the audience. You know what I'm
Like
saying?
it's that same vein, man. And her and her ex-husband, he was a part of midget wrestling, and then he
Hmm.
started Midgets Unleashed, and so like the two of them embraced the term, and they loved it. They were like, "There's nothing little about us. Everything we do is crazy and big." And I was like, "Yep, that's awesome," and it's definitely that's their perspective. But like I said, I got accustomed to using the M word, and so I make very sure that I do not use it around other little people. She's the only little person I can use it around because I can't say little
Right.
person around her.
So when you use the term natural born, like you said, wouldn't you? Wouldn't that little what's how do you phrase it? My favorite show almost of all time is The Munsters, right? And you had Herman Monster, who's fantastic. You have the wife. You have Spot, who lives on a thing. Like everybody has their own eccentricities. If you're not a natural born, you're basically saying you're Marilyn, but you are part of the Munsters, right?
Much.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't like. Do you see that as defeating it anyway, or do you just see it as a natural thing where it's like, oh, this is how we're categorized when it comes to?
I think. Do I see it? Wait. Do I see it as how? I'm sorry.
So use is it simply terminology that you use in the freak show when it comes to natural born this, or was that something you came up with yourself where it's like I'm not natural born?
Oh, that's just the terminology
Oh,
that
okay.
yeah used. It's like I said, like you're either in the freak show, you're either a natural born or you're a working act. So
Gotcha. Are you
well, and then you can, if you're a natural born, you can be a working act as well. It comes back from like because back in the the golden age of freak shows. So like a lot of natural born performers wouldn't even do anything. Like Little Miss Firefly, she's one of like the hardest working firefly I know.
right?
She's the hardest one of the hardest working littles I know because she does broken glass walking. She does balloon swallow. She does straight jacket escape. She does all this stuff. But back in the day, like 150, 200 years ago, they wouldn't like littles wouldn't do that. It would really you'd go and be like, oh, come see a little person. You'd pay the fee, and then you'd go up and they'd be sitting
Right.
like and be like, "Hi, this is me, and I eat normal plates
Stuff.
of
Yeah.
regular things like everybody else," and they'd be like, "Okay," and then move on. So, it's like, and that's what I love about like sideshows today is like a lot of like the natural borns are working acts as well, and not because they have to be, they just want to be, and they really just embrace everything that's about sideshow, which
Mhm.
is really cool.
Are you still at Venice Beach?
Venice Beach closed.
Oh no, that's right, hasn't it? Well, have you guys still stayed in touch, or are you still together?
I don't like a lot of people have kind of disbanded. I mean, I still talk to a few people. Like I just saw Jessa the Bearded Lady
Hmm.
not too long ago when I was in Vegas. But yeah, it's kind of sad. A lot of people disbanded, but
But for the
I'm
better, probably, right? Like you all went to your like other what own career type things, right? Like it wasn't like a oh Venice Beach is closed, so it's like you all profited in some way.
No, no, no. Yeah, we've all been still performing. Like I now that I live on the East Coast, I do a lot of stuff with Coney Island, which I love
Nice.
Coney Island so much. Yes, so I'm
Even
like,
saying the name is
yay.
good. It's such a history to it, Coney Island. Do you
But yeah,
did you live together though in the show? That's what the show made it seem like. You all lived in a house, or was it very much you guys commuting each day?
Todd, Ray, and his family obviously live together, and then like sometimes depending on where people were coming from, we would stay at Todd's house. But we
Hmm.
pretty much no, we didn't live in all just one giant house. No,
Gotcha. It seemed
we would
very
have
much like
killed each
that.
other.
Yeah, really. Um, how do you process? Because I kind of think you and Morg in that episode depicted it in a way where it's like it was very enlightening with the coat hanger and how like anatomy works, and you're kind of giving like a little peek behind the curtain on how things work and how things are done. Obviously, for every act you do, that's not the case. Like you said, you are enduring some amount of pain to get that like appeal out. What's the most painful act you've done or still do where you're like, I'm about to feel pain? Like, regardless, like it's a certain level where you're like, this is going to be uncomfortable.
Painful. Mm. I would say, well, there's a lot of factors into that. Like, I mean, I won't talk about suspension because a lot of sideshow performers do not like include suspension as a
Hmm.
form of side. So with that off the table, I would say it's a balance between swords or fire.
Oh, the two things I requested.
So that's all right. But yeah, so it's just like like I go and do Six Flags Fright Fest in October, and I have
Nice.
four. Yeah, it's I love it. And I have four shows a day, and usually and it's 3 to 4 days a week, and so usually by the end of the week, my throat is just like, man, I am done.
Right.
I don't want to do this, and I just kind of like power through it. But that's not every single week. Like I'm just totally dead at the end of the week. But like, yeah, usually after like a run like that, or even in like Venice Beach, like doing a grind show, the end
Hmm.
of the weekend, my throat would just be like, all right, we need to recover a little bit.
Has that happened a
Uh,
lot where you get raspy throat and it's like you're just like out of it?
Not too terribly much. I mean, this last year when I went to Six Flags and I hadn't really performed in 2 years because everything went sideways.
Hmm.
That was a little rough, but it took me about a week to get back into the swing of things. And I was fine again. I was like, yay, good. I was a little worried, but everything was good.
Now, seeing since you have the mentality of like a freak, is it? Do you have idea? Okay, so are you ever like laying in bed, you're completely bored, right? Because I do this all the time, but I'm a writer, so I tend to like think of writing thoughts. Do you ever try to think of a new trick where you're just looking at the anatomy of your own body and you're like, I wonder if I could have like how often would you say you develop something, or is it not like that at all? Is it just like passed down? Because I could see that happening where you're there and you're like, oh yeah, like you.
Yeah, like the one thing with Sideshow is it's been around for hundreds of years and even thousands of years. If you go back to like when the Fakurs did like the bed of nails and the swords falling, which is where that comes from, and the fire and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So and then like the Sideshow we know today has been around for hundreds of years, and it's like there's only so much you can do
Right.
before you really like. I would definitely say there's definitely some innovative people of my era. Like Andrew Stanton is amazing. And he's been on like America's Got Talent, Go Big Show. He was in Cirque du Soleil's Are You In?
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, he's been in a lot of cool stuff. And he came up with now it's not completely new, but it's like so the blockhead, like I was telling you about the nail
Hmm.
through the nose, right?
Yep.
So he took the nail through the nose idea, and then we had this thing called mental floss, where you put like a balloon through your nose and pull it out your mouth and like do that,
Okay.
right? So he took those two like already like performed acts and combined them to come up with this thing called screw face, where he takes a giant corkscrew and drills it into his skull.
Oh.
Uh, Yeah, he's pretty awesome. You should check him out
No,
next.
thank you. Maybe, but no, thank you. Because the thing is, if it's a corkscrew, it's like that's the. It seems more difficult to have like moving on. That's why I get scared because you've done 3 swords in your throat, correct?
I've ever done so far is four at the same time, but
That's insane to me
three.
because like one sword going down the throat, it's like you can kind of like it's still like very like woo, but having the chance that like one of those swords like slides one way and you're still put like no no no
Yeah, it's happened before. Like I've pinched like the back of my tonsil, and that sucked for a few
right.
days. That was not fun. But yeah, yeah, the more swords you do, definitely the crazier that it gets. So I
Yeah,
tend
no.
to stick with just the two. It's good.
What would you say is like the worst injury that's happened if you want to share it in terms of like doing an act? Yeah.
Oh, I would say definitely, like just burning myself with fire
Yeah.
sucks because take forever to heal. And really that, like, especially if you're doing fire outside, you don't have control of the wind and all of that. And so it's just like, I've burned the crap out of myself before. And it just takes forever to heal, which is a bummer. Yeah, luckily I haven't done anything too crazy to, like I said, send me to the hospital.
Hmm. Now with the
Usually,
tongue, when you put the fire on the tongue, since you've burned it obviously so much, does it become like your knuckles, kind of like in Kill Bill, where they become reinforced over time, or is it like no, it still sucks?
no, it's not so bad. I mean, you usually like you have a lot of spit in your mouth,
Yep.
and it's you keep the fire on your tongue for too terribly long,
Hmm.
and so it's not. I mean, I would say more of like when I do like the fleshing or like lighting it with my fingers or something like that. That yeah, I've gotten burned way worse than my tongue. The
Really?
part yeah, my tongue not too bad. What actually like a lot of people wouldn't think of is just holding the fire in your mouth and it going upwards. Like it'll burn the roof of your mouth, and that sucks.
I could see that because it's uncalled
Yeah,
for heat, where you're like, I wasn't planning for that.
right. Yeah, the tongue, luckily, I mean, knock on wood, I haven't burned it too terribly bad. It's more like the roof of my mouth or like my arms, and I've done fleshing and stuff like that for sure.
Mm. So to almost end on a high note, what would be your best experience you've had with another freak and with a like an audience member? Because I can see a good payoff happening where you do something and like that one audience member's like, well, like it's not disgust. It's like this moment where you're like, I'm on cloud nine right now. Like this is good. Like that's the reaction I wanted. I got it. Have you had that moment yet? Like have you had any of those like moments where like you're just on cloud nine?
Oh yeah, I would say pretty much every time I do a show. Like I just love performing so much. And like I mean while I'm doing the show, like I'm in it. I'm in like just, doing my thing. And then
Hmm.
when I get done with the show, oh, it's just like one of the best feelings. I think I'm addicted to the feeling afterwards more than actually like during the show itself. I mean, I love
Hmm.
them both, but the after feeling is really great. And it's like, when I do like the Six Flags show, we have like a younger audience there. And so, like,
Hmm.
I always try to do a little thing of like, now you saw me swallow a sword and you thought it was impossible, but you saw it before your own eyes. So, you should go and do something that you want to do that you think is impossible, not sword swallowing.
Yeah, right. I was gonna. That's a
Like,
good
I
one.
don't like competition. No, but I always, say, like, apply that to your own life. Like,
Hmm.
you saw me do something impossible, but it was possible because you saw me do it. And so, it's pretty much like I just tell them, nothing is impossible, and anything that you want to do, go and do it. Life is too short not to kick ass.
That is
um,
phenomenal.
Yeah, so I had like these two teenage girls come up to me after a show, and and they were just like, wow, that was really freaking cool. We'd always wanted to see this in real life, and you're just so cool. And one of the girls was like, yeah, I was always scared of like singing, but I think I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna start singing. And I was like, freaking
Oh,
do
right.
it.
Oh, what a payoff. What a payoff. It's
And it was
fantastic.
That's probably one of my best like audience member things. I mean, I've had I've had a lot of really great audience member reactions. Like little kids are they're some of the worst and
Hmm.
some of the best.
Right.
but but yeah, like
Yeah,
little
kids
kids.
aren't kids don't have the humility of not calling you on like stuff where they just shout out stuff. You're like, should you stop?
Yeah, no, I had one little kid once. Like he was crazy. Like he was dressed in a Batman outfit, and he was just like the whole time I'm like doing my sword thing, and I'm ignoring him, and he's just like, "Die, die, kill yourself and die." I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
You're like,
Like
you're
when it
not
got to the
Batman.
end, yeah, right, yeah. And then when it got to the end, and like I was like, "Batman doesn't kill anybody. Why are you doing this?" And that shut him right up. I was like, "Oh, I wish I would have called him out sooner."
Yeah, right. All those moments where he's like, you're right, I messed up here. Batman doesn't kill. All this time I thought he killed.
I don't kill nobody. Why are you so angry, little kid? Like, but then again, I've had other kids that are just like, "You're the coolest. I want to be like you when I grow up." And I'm like, "Right on."
Right on, right on.
I don't claim to be a role model, but I mean, if that's the route you want to choose, then more power to you.
Exactly. Now, speaking of earlier when we said getting burned, do you want to do some fire eating?
Have to. Let's heat things
Let's
up a little
do
bit,
it.
shall we? All right, let me just move this over here. I'm like, I have my fire safety blanket just in case. I'm like, let me actually fold that to where it will work if I need it, but hopefully I will not need it. All right. And then, yes, another drink of water. And this is water. I know it's St. Patrick's Day and all.
Right? I was like, this is gonna go wrong. She grabbed the wrong cup.
I'm like, oh my gosh. All right, so I just have to shake off my torches real quick. And I don't do any talking.
Hmm.
So,
It's all good. Just make sure you adjust your camera because it's still low.
no,
The camera, it's still low.
I'll do this.
All right, good.
All right.
Better. Much better. Now you're on my
Oh,
level.
I'm like, there we go. And I'll back up. I'm like, ooh, maybe I can make the. No, I don't want to make that.
Such a creative mind. You're like, you know what I'll do? You know what? No, 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 no.
I'm like, no, 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 no. We're live.
Don't you love it when you just become MacGyver?
Okay, so, all right, let's heat things up just a little bit. Here we go. Ooh.
Wow.
And a lot of people ask what fire tastes like. Burning.
Ow! That's insane.
All right, let's see here. Shake that off.
That is awesome.
And finale. Here we go.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Bravo. Bravo indeed.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I love playing with
Oh,
fire.
right?
It's one of my favorites.
That's fantastic. So before we leave, I always like to doing a quick 4-minute topic about something that's very passionate to me, which is the channel is basically based off of, which is horror. So what is your favorite horror movie?
I'm like, of what era? Because I am a
Any
big,
era. I mean, you can go back to
I know, but I'm
Nosferatu
like,
if you want.
I'm like a big horror person, buff person. And so it's like
It's got to
I
come
can't.
down to that personal favorite. I know everybody likes The Shining because it's like almost crystal perfect, but your personal, like my personal favorite is Insidious. Like I love Insidious. I love the roller coaster, like haunted house aspect, and then Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite right after that. So yours, what's your personal
I'll
one?
I so you do so I will do two.
Okay, I set myself up.
Favorite of all time, like if I, oh, it's so. If I ever really had like one horror movie to watch, though, it would definitely be The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. This
Very
that
well
is.
done.
Oh my gosh, that movie just fucking
Perfection. Yup.
yes.
Every time
And then
defibrillator scene with the
it's
oh
so good.
every time.
Yes. Oh, it's so
So
good. I
well
love it
done.
so much. So it'd definitely be The Thing, and then my newer favorite horror movie is Hereditary, because that is just fucking amazing. Oh,
Talk
sorry, I don't know
about
if I can cuss.
no, you can swear because it is fucking insane. Like the, the 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 beats in that movie that make it work so well is the believability aspect that they portray when the little girl gets ahead of the game, if you know what I'm saying. Like the shock on the kid's face and the way they hold on him for like 8 minutes, and then you hear the mother outside, like total insanity. And then when the end, when it just, yeah, no, Hereditary is next
Oh,
level
so good. And I
thing.
love that Ari Aster doesn't use any jump scares. Like none.
Right.
He does not need to at all. And even like in that, there's parts in that movie where you're like, it's gonna be a jump scare, and it's not. You're like, oh, like that feeling was like I never experienced that, and I think I kind of like it.
How
Like,
did you feel about him doing Midsummer?
it was really good too. I mean, visually stunning. Like
Visually amazing.
yes, and probably the best depiction of like what it's like to be on mushrooms in a movie ever.
Oh yeah,
Like,
like you're watching it and you're like, did he just drug me? Like it's weird. You're watching it and you're just like, this is phenomenal.
and he's like my new favorite like writer director, because he uses a lot of like real stuff. Like
hmm
Ashtupa was a real thing that they actually did.
And I believe he's
And
from the East Coast too. I think he's from Maine. I think
oh,
he's from Maine.
yay!
Yeah, like he's close.
Heck yes. But yeah, he's like my new favorite, and I'm just like anything that comes out, I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
I
you're
can't
just
wait
waiting.
for this. Yes.
Fantastic. All right. Well, it was a delight having you on. Thank you for coming in. I'm sure we'll do other stuff together because this has been like phenomenal and I'm like obsessed now. But yeah, thank you so much for coming in.
Oh yes, I mean, it was so much fun. I love being on Monster School.
All right. Have a good one and I appreciate you coming in again.